From the secret behind Orochidaki's mask to the reason why Rengoku ruptured his own eardrums in his first mission, it seems that there are many secrets and Easter eggs in Demon Slayer that we might have missed. So, these are the 33 craziest Demon Slayer facts, starting from the fact that when Rengoku first became a Hashira, he had to face the Flute Demon. In order to defend himself against the Flute Demon's Blood Demon art, he intentionally ruptured his own eardrums. No wonder he's so loud all the time. Speaking of Rengoku, did you know that when one of the women in the Rengoku household is pregnant with a son, she will spend 2 hours staring at a flaming torch every day? This is why the male members of the family have flame-colored hair, and may also explain their inclination towards fire-breathing techniques. But even though fire-breathing is pretty strong, Rengoku isn't the strongest Hashira. That title goes to Gyome Himajima. And how do we know that, you ask? Well, in a legendary arm wrestling match among the Hashiras, Gyome proved that he's a force to be reckoned with by beating everyone else. However, Tengen ranked second, only losing to mighty Gyome, which proves he is not a weakling either. Of course, we all knew that he was strong, as he is the only Hashira who wields 2 swords. But he's not the only character that wields 2 swords, however. You've already guessed it, it's our boy, Inoske. Now, have you ever wondered what Zenitsu, Inoske, Tanjiro, and Tengen would be like as musicians? Well, in a manga extra, the 4 of them form a band called Stylish Scruffy Democracy. Tanjiro is the vocalist, despite him being tone deaf. Inoske plays the taiko drum, Tengen is on harmonica, and Zenitsu plays shamisen and writes their songs. Their debut, called Exploding Skin and the Melancholy of Modern Smell, apparently made everyone who heard it get dizzy and vomit. Yeah, maybe they should just stick to slaying demons. Speaking of which, we already established that Gyome is the strongest Hashira, but did you know that he is also the only one of the 9 Hashiras that doesn't use a Nichiren sword? Instead, he wields a spiked flail and an axe, which are incredibly powerful weapons that he can use with great precision and strength. While on the topic of Gyome, do you know how he lost his vision? You might have expected that he lost his eyesight while fighting a demon, but in actuality, it was something a lot more mundane. As a child, he had a high fever that caused him to go blind. However, despite being blind, he is considered the strongest Hashira. He has a heightened sense of touch that allows him to see through vibrations and detect his opponent's movements with incredible accuracy. Yes, he's just built different. Just like how you could be if you hit that subscribe button using your breathing style of choice. Now, do you know why the previous water Hashira, Orochidaki, wears a Tengu mask all the time? Well, the reason for this isn't explained in the anime, but there is an explanation. He started wearing it because he has an exceptionally gentle face. This embarrassed him a bit, so he started wearing the mask to cover it up. No, I don't know about you, but that's kind of cute if you ask me. Something else that would be pretty cute is if you could, hit that subscribe button. On the topic of cute things, let's talk about our trio of lovable idiots for a bit. Did you know that Tanjiro loves keeping in touch with others via the mail? He has several pen pals, including Orochidaki, Senjuro, the courtesans from the entertainment district, and even Giyu and Tengen. Although Giyu never writes back to him, sadly. No wonder he's a loner. But Tanjiro most certainly is not. He's got Inoske and Zenitsu by his side after all. Now, did you know that, like every other demon slayer, Inoske has a Kasugai crow as well, but Inosuke's crow tries to stay hidden as much as possible. Why, you may ask? Because he's tried to eat the poor thing at least 18 times. Yeah, I'd be scared of him too. Someone else who would be scared of Inosuke is Zenitsu. In fact, we all know that he's mostly scared of everything, but something you perhaps didn't know is that even though it's not obvious from how he's drawn most of the time, but an extra panel in the manga, the author states that Zenitsu has an overbite. Most likely it's not quite as severe as the exaggerated overbite depicted in the panel though. Now, we can't talk about Zenitsu without mentioning Nezuko-chan. Did you know that before she was transformed into a demon, Nezuko's brother Takeo asked what her ideal man was like? She said, "My ideal man is like a rook." A rook is a shogi piece that can move an unlimited number of squares either horizontally or vertically. Now, I'm not saying this confirms anything, but I hear wedding bells. Moving on, we all know that Tanjiro's headbutt is one of his signature moves, but did you know that it actually runs in the family? Kie Kamado, or we know her as Tanjiro's mom, has her own headbutt move that was so strong she was able to take down a boar with a single blow. Now that's impressive, but not nearly as impressive as our next fact. We know that in order to enhance his own power and use blood art techniques, Genya Shinazugawa eats demon flesh, but according to Kokushibo, he is not the only human who eats demons. It's not clear how common this practice is, but it's not unique to Genya. Surprised, aren't you? So was I. Although our next fact may not be surprising, but it sure is cute. Did you know that Kanao's hobbies are to blow soap bubbles? She's into buying presents like accessories and desserts for everyone else in the Butterfly Mansion as well. She's also a budding chef who likes helping other people cook, and whenever she sees a cat, she just has to squish its little paws. But I think we would all very much love doing the last one. No wonder she's so popular with the fans. However, did you know that the swordsmith in charge of creating and servicing the swords belonging to the Demon Slayer Corps is not a fan of Inoske? Why? Because every time he gets a new sword, he immediately chips it to create a serrated edge. The tailors who make uniforms don't like him either because he's constantly tearing up his clothes. Talk about high maintenance. Jeez. Now, enough about our heroes. Let's focus on our villains for a bit and start with the worst one of them all. After Muzan Kibutsuji was transformed into a demon during the Heian period, he married 5 different women. However, his new demonic nature made him so cruel that all 5 women took their own lives as a result of his mistreatment. Jeez, talk about a dark turn. That's about as bad as it gets. But his henchmen, the 12 Kizuku, aren't saints either. Let's start with the lower moons. Did you know that supposedly Rui was powerful enough to take on Hashira, but he weakened himself severely by sharing his power with his family? This seems to be a permanent loss, since when those spiders were brought down, Rui did not become any stronger. Honestly, that's just sad. From lower rank 5 to lower rank 1, we move to Enmu. Now, we all know that many of his fighting methods involve trapping people inside of their dreams in order to make it easier to hurt them in the real world. However, you might not have known that his name is a perfect reflection of these abilities. His name contains the kanji En, which means to have a nightmare, and Mu, which means dream or vision. Now, that's a perfect name. However, that isn't the only instance of ranked demons having perfect names. Before she was turned into a demon, Daki's name was Ume. While this might sound like a cute name, it's actually pretty devastating. She was named after the disease that took her mother's life. This is implied to be syphilis, because the Japanese word for syphilis is baidoku, and bai and ume are alternate readings of the same kanji. Her name serves as a reminder of her dark past. While on the topic of Daki, it can be a little unclear at times just who the real upper rank 6 is, Daki or her brother Gyutaro. While there are some moments that imply that they share the position, it's actually Gyutaro who holds it. This makes sense when you consider the fact that Muzan doesn't see Daki as especially bright. Ouch. Now, you may have thought that Muzan loves all his creations equally, but that's not the case. He certainly plays favorites. One of his favorite upper ranks is Gyoko. Is it because Gyoko's appearance leaves one feeling creeped out and squeamish? Or maybe it's due to his extremely unique blood demon art? Well, none of the above, actually. It turns out that his ornate pots are able to be sold for high prices and bring in lots of cash. Who knew Muzan was a gold digger? Moving on to upper rank 3, we have Akaza. Love or hate him? However, he does stick to his principles. Why do we say that, you may ask? Well, believe it or not, Akaza doesn't kill or consume women. This is possibly due to the tragic death of his daughter Koyuki, who died after ingesting poisonous water. Muzan likes Akaza a lot and gave him permission to follow this rule, which is surprising, knowing how he normally is. Well, I guess that goes to show just how important Akaza is to Muzan. Although the upper ranks are all evil, not all demons are. Lady Tamayo and Yushiro, for example, has been a huge help for Tanjiro and the others, despite being demons. Did you know that dirty and disorganized surroundings stress Tamayo out to the point where she can't concentrate on anything? This is probably a good trait for a doctor to have, and of course Yushiro is there to keep things nice and tidy. Now, it's well known that Yushiro is obsessed with Tamayo, but did you know that he keeps a diary dedicated entirely to taking notes about her greatness? If that's not the cutest but a little bit weirdest thing, I don't know what is. Some more interesting facts about demons is that they do not have the need to sleep to survive. That being said, they are capable of sleeping, and it does provide some restorative benefits. That's why Nezuko uses it as a replacement for eating humans. What's even weirder is that demons don't even blink because their eyes are perpetually damp. They have no need to blink. It's not clear whether having constantly moist eyes ever causes any problems. No sleep, no blinking, yet they still get clapped by the Demon Slayer Corps on the daily. Speaking of whom, did you know that in order to distinguish themselves from other Demon Slayers, the Hashira use a variety of symbols. Each of them have the words Akimatsatsu engraved on their weapons. This means destroy demons. Also, each of them has a symbol on their back of their hand that represents the breathing style they use. The Hashiras have all sorts of quirks and factoids. For example, Muichiro is the only one other than Gyome that became a Hashira after just training for a mere 2 months with the swords. Ironically, the 2 Hashira who have the biggest and smallest appetites are attracted to one another. Obanai sees eating as more trouble than it's worth, and only does it to survive. He's been known to go up to 3 days without without eating anything. Meanwhile, Mitsuri adores food and has the biggest appetite out of any of the other Hashira. Honestly, they would make the cutest couple. You know what else is cute? Animals! A lot of the Hashiras have fun interactions with them. Yome, for example, absolutely adores cats. On the other hand, Shinobu can't stand any furry creature, although her reasons for this aren't clear. Rengoku was never able to have any pets due to his father hating them. Muichiro might like to have a pet, but his crow would get too jealous if he did. Sanemi isn't into furry animals, but he does keep a Japanese rhinoceros beetle. Speaking of animals, all Hashiras also have Kasugai crows with distinct personalities. Gyu's bird, Kanzaburo, is elderly and forgetful, often failing to deliver messages, which stresses Gyu out. Ginkgo, Muichiro's bird, is a flashy creature who is proud of her human charge. Tengen's crow, Nijimaru, is into fashion and loves wearing jewels and modeling for the other crows. Mitsuri's Urara is on the anxious side. She wears a clover-shaped crown that resembles the handguard of Mitsuri's sword. Now, did you know the flashy Tengen we all know and love wasn't his original design? When Koyuharo Gotoge was first designing Tengen Uzui, they had something different in mind than what ultimately made it into the manga. The original Tengen was much thinner and less muscular. He wore sleeves in order to avoid sunburns, and his face was covered in bandages that obscured his features. Which design do you prefer? Whatever your preference may be, we all love Demon Slayer and hope they continue to keep bringing us absolute bangers in the future. Now, check out these 30 things that were changed by the 4Kids dub of One Piece.